and I want to get all of these right because they deserve so much respect and admiration. She's the co-writer of the original Cosmos series. She's the writer, executive producer, and director, and I would say heart and soul, of the current Cosmos series. And she is the creative director of NASA's Voyager Interstellar Message. What is that? Oh, we're about to find out because it's pretty cool. Welcome, Ann. Hello, hello.
Hello, Meredith. It's great to be with you. This is my first hangout. It's very exciting.
Do you feel like you're hanging out?
I do feel like I'm hanging out, and I also am so honored to be considered a smart girl. That's all I ever wanted to be.
Oh, we all pale in comparison. You're leading the way in smart girls, I can tell you. Why don't we prove it by, let's start off, can you tell us a little bit about the Voyager Interstellar Message and just what it is?
Well, in 1977, NASA launched 2 Voyager spacecraft. And today, they are the most distant objects ever touched by human hands. They have ventured to a part of the cosmos that nothing we have ever made, no machine of ours has ever been. They've left the immediate environs of the solar system and the place where the solar wind dominates. And they've come to that place where the cosmic rays begin to rage. They have left the harbor of the solar system and are actually beginning to sail the sea of interstellar space. And on board both Voyagers are identical golden records, which are a complex message consisting of music from the world's great musical traditions, about 115, 120 photographs of life on Earth, readings in some 50-something languages, 50-something human languages, and 1 whale language, readings of the humpback whales, and a sound essay, which is a kind of using a microphone to paint a portrait of the geological, biological, and then technological history of the Earth. And it concludes with the sounds of a mother's first words to her newborn baby, a kiss, and the brainwaves and rapid eye movement and neurological signals of a young woman newly fallen in love. And this message has a shelf life of 1,000 million years, 1 billion years. And both of these spacecraft are heading away from us in different directions, and they have shown us the shape of the solar system as we move through the galaxy. And in 1,000 million years, they will venture at 40,000 miles per hour. They will venture far, far, far away from their home planet. And it was my honor to be the director of the project to design that message.
I feel like we're in very good hands with somebody like you being the creative director and designing that message. And I can tell even more so because, well, I think I can say a collective yay from everybody that Cosmos is back. I really think so. And it's beautiful information like you were just talking about that comes across in the show, and much more. Let's just start at the beginning in case there are some people here who don't know the background and talk about your relationship with Carl Sagan. You were married to him, and y'all worked on this together. In fact, I'll start you off. I'll cue you up with something that he wrote about you, or he wrote to you, I think, was it in the book. He says, in the vastness of space and the immensity of time, it is my joy to share a planet. Is it a planet and an epoch with you?
It is my joy to share a planet and an epoch with you. And that was the dedication to the first Cosmos book. Carl and I wrote the original Cosmos television series with another scientist named Stephen Soder, and it was a thrilling experience. We fell in love during the making of the aforementioned Voyager record, and we co-created the motion picture Contact together, and wrote half a dozen books together, had 2 kids together, and had almost 20 trips around the sun together, day and night, every single moment, and it was truly heaven.
That's such a lovely way of putting it. You worked so much on the initial run with him. So what brought you to decide to revive it, to revive the series?
About 7 years ago, I was really struck by the hostility, the naked hostility towards science, its values, its methods, and its achievements. And so I wanted to do a new Cosmos series. I joined forces with our original co-writer, Steve Soder, and with a producer named Mitchell Canold, and the 3 of us set out to do a new series. My first and only choice for host was Neil deGrasse Tyson, who Carl had introduced me to some 20-something years before. And we went around from network to network. Everybody wanted Cosmos. Everybody knew it was kind of a unique television experience and kind of unrivaled in its own combination of wonder, as well as the science, as well as the VFX. And for its time, it was really a groundbreaking show, visually. So we, wandered in the wilderness for a couple of years because no one would give me total creative control over the series. And everybody wanted the series, every network that we went to wanted it, but they all wanted to control it, and they also didn't want to spend the kind of money that was needed, because I wanted it to be a transporting, thrilling experience, a kind of spiritually uplifting journey. And you can only do that with really great VFX. And the audience is very sophisticated because they go to the movies and they see these $200 million motion pictures. So couldn't find that until Neil met Seth MacFarlane. And that's when everything changed, and the rest is history.
I'm so glad they met.
I'm so glad they met. I think about it all the time. How great it is that they met, and from the moment Seth came into my life, he just made every single one of my dreams come true for Cosmos, and it was just a brilliantly thrilling collaboration, creatively, every which way.
Well, I want to come back to that in a second, because I definitely don't want to skip over something that is, when you're talking about, you recognize the hostility that's out there. It really does seem like there's a very divisive kind of us versus them mentality that can be perpetuated by certain news shows. Who knows? But there's a great story about Carl when he was testifying, I think, about creationism in school, and it impacted you so much watching his delivery of his testimony. And I was hoping you could tell us a little bit about why that resonated with you so much, and if it's affected how you've gone on writing this series.
That's such a great question. That's a question no one has ever asked me before. And I'm thrilled to be able to talk about it. Meredith, thank you.
Sure.
So Carl, was the most conscientious citizen, and would schlep, to naturalization ceremonies and implore new citizens to question authority and to use their rights of critical approaches to the government. He would go to public schools, constantly, and try and have little children become little planets and moons in the solar system. He was just totally completely small d democratic inspired person. And he also went to testify at all these trials in the 1980s and before of, the so-called creation science movement to teach creationism as an equally scientifically relevant and valid approach to nature. And at one of these trials in a southern state, he did his thing and testified, and a few months later, he received a letter which he shared with me, which was from the guy who was the creation science expert who was testifying for the other side. And he said that Carl's kindness, his humility, his patience, his willingness to listen, to absolutely listen to what was being said, and then to evaluate it, not with an ad hominem reflex of resentment and, lashing out and hitting back, but with the most thoughtful kind of response, had made this man realize that he was wasting his life as a creationist. He went back to school and became a biology teacher. And for me, it was like one of the miracles, secular miracles that Carl performed. And the man said it was because his modesty, and that was Carl to me, he had a kind of humility, especially the older he got, the more, in a kind of really loving, kind way. Anyway, that he actually turned that guy around, and that's what is needed. Not, to belittle and to demean and to intimidate people into shutting up, but to connect. And he was able to do that.
I really love that story, and I think that's an important thing, no matter where you're coming from, what your perspective is, that kind of fact-based would be preferable, but fact-based and kind, gentle, thoughtful communication really seems, absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's what Cosmos does, and I'd like to, my favorite review that I read so far is, I'm going to paraphrase it a little bit, but I think it shows that that's part of this entity. It's Cosmos is exhilarating. It makes you feel the way you feel when you sit in an open field looking up at the stars, part of something much bigger than yourself. Did you plan on having the show help just give off an uplifting feeling? Was that important to you?
That feeling is what motivates me in everything that I do, as a writer, a parent, a daughter, a member of a girlfriend. That's the whole idea, and that's been the thing that motivated me from the very beginning, that sense of wonder. But when I met Carl, I discovered that the sense of wonder needs an equal amount of rigor and skepticism, not one at the expense of the other, but together, working together. And that's, to me, that's why I wanted creative control for Cosmos, because I wanted it to be equal measure of that wonder and skepticism, and to be suffused with that spiritual uplift. That's because that's what science evokes in me. That's what it makes me feel. It's a kind of, to me, it's like such a high form of humility, because it's always saying, we could be wrong. We don't know anything. We know so little. And that's the part about it that's so wonderful.
Right. Like we're trying to unlock the mysteries of the universe and
life.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, another thing I definitely want to point out, and we've discussed this a little bit, is not only do you write the show, executive produce the show, you're probably like the good morale director of the show, I'm guessing. but you've also actually directed episodes. Is that something that's new for you?
It's completely new for me, and it wouldn't have been possible without Brandon Braga and Bill Pope, who are far more experienced in this area than I am. And we had such a great working experience. And for for all of the speaking parts, for Neil speaking of our script, for the script that Steve and I originally wrote, and then I carried on myself, for all of the actors in the dramatic recreations, I would be directing the voices. And they were, it was their idea. They were saying, you are directing. And I'm lucky enough to have the directing credit for the final episode, which I'm very proud of, and which is, for me, a cri de coeur, a cry from the heart. And it really sums up everything that Cosmos means to me and why I wanted to do this in the first place.
Well, we're having a Smart Girls team slumber party that night to watch it, so...
Oh, wow, that sounds like so much fun.
We will send you messages throughout, I promise.
Oh, that would be thrilling, Meredith. I would love that.
We really will. I'm so proud to know that you've been directing episodes too, and I wonder if you could talk a little bit about the change in women's roles in the entertainment industry from the first round of Cosmos to now. Have you noticed a growth in number?
Oh, what a difference. When I was working on the first one, Carl and Steve and I conceiving this show together and then writing it together, I always felt and was treated as if I was only there because Carl really liked me. And, just apart from Carl and Steve, virtually everyone else I worked with on that show, I constantly felt like I had to prove myself. And, things would happen, like we'd be in meetings, in production meetings, and I would be speaking, and right in the middle of what I was saying, someone else would start talking, and it was Carl, of course, who would say, immediately jump in and say, I'd really like to hear what Ann has to say. Or, I would say something, and then the meeting would progress, and then afterwards, later in the meeting, someone would turn to Carl and say, that was really brilliant what you said about such and such, and he would say, no, I didn't say that, Ann said that. And I felt like a completely invisible person, and it was, it was just completely different. On this show, I could not even believe the degree to which everyone deferred to me, and I had to learn how to be comfortable in that position, because we have something like more than 1,500, between 1,500 and 2,000 VFX shots. And it was up to me to final every single one of those shots. And some of those shots had 25, 30 iterations. And I was working with really great women, Livia Hadich and Addie Roy-Manis and Natasha, just really brilliant producers. And they were treated with such respect. And I realized that the world had changed in the intervening 35 years in a very dramatic way.
Yay!
Yay!
Oh my
yes.
gosh. Well,
and
along with those changes, what I hope is, like with Neil and Seth meeting, and you already having this in place, so this really cool program is on television where you can actually sit and watch something and learn something and really expand your mind while you're watching TV. What can people in the entertainment industry do to help bring more of this kind of thing to the forefront?
That was really one of the most touching things about the experience. It was the 3-4 years of really pre and production and post, and everyone would they all came from motion pictures, from places where they could command a much bigger salary than we could afford to pay them. Why were they there? They all said the same thing. It's so great to be working on something that actually means something. You know, I've done a lot of movies. I've done a lot of shows. I never have felt so proud to be part of something that really matters. It really has a chance being shown in 180 countries around the world. I mean, think of it, 180 countries. That's almost everyone. The chance to communicate not only the values of science and why science matters, but also to tell the stories of these heroes of knowledge who nobody's ever heard of. But they've given us some of the most valuable knowledge that we have. And also to create a vision of the future that's possible and beautiful and great and better than the present. When was the last time anyone saw a vision of the future that wasn't dystopic and choking and dying and frying? Like, you know, so yeah, I mean, I think my hope, because Hollywood is slavishly imitative,
Yes.
is that, you know, may 1,000 flowers bloom, you know, like, you know, Cosmos, every, you know, any, I think that would be great. And I hope there'll be more of this kind of programming.
Oh, I hope so too. Let's keep fighting the fight.
Yep.
Well, I want to open it up to a little Q&A, and
Right.
We're getting several, and so I just want to make sure I get some of them in. So I'll just recite them to you, okay? And I just wanted to let you know about the positive effect you've had on my life. As a female who discovered her interest in science a little later in life than others, seeing intelligent women such as yourself who've done such amazing things gives me, and I think probably all of us, a great deal of inspiration to go out and learn as much as we can in our short time here on Earth. My question is this: what's been the one moment or few moments in your life that you would go back and experience again if given the opportunity? Susan asks that.
Susan, first of all, thank you so much for this profound compliment, which I treasure. I would go back to any Tuesday, middle of the week, ordinary moment with Carl. Any, you know, maybe the grumpiest day we ever had, I would go back. If, you know, I do go back to the moment that we fell in love and to countless other memories that I have of being with Carl over and over again. And my only regret is, you know, that the limitations of my data retrieval access. You know, if I could, I wish I could remember every second I spent with him and with our family. That's, you know, any place that he was, I would go to.
Gosh, that's a lovely answer. Next, we have something from Allison. She would like to say, "Hi, Ann. I'm a scientist in training. I'm very interested in science communication. Cosmos is absolutely stunning, and I'm so glad that it's reaching a broad audience. I would love to hear your thoughts and advice in this modern era on communicating science effectively to diverse populations."
Thank you. Thank you again. You know, the only important thing about communicating is that you have to really want to connect. It can never be to impress anybody with what you know. It has to be from the heart. And it has to be, if you can't explain something in the simplest language, there's something wrong. There's something wrong with the concept. And that's what I learned from working on the original series. And because I am not a scientist, and because all of my science was the result of this remarkable tutorial, this 20-year tutorial with Carl, I knew something before I met him, and I know something about the history of science. But I'm not a scientist. And I think the important thing is to retrace your thought steps that you took before on your way to understanding. And that's how you can bring other people there too.
That's great. Now, Amanda would like to say something and ask you something. Hi, Ann. I love how Cosmos uses storytelling techniques to explain complex scientific concepts. I tear up at almost every episode.
Oh,
Scientists whose discoveries changed the world often didn't know how important they would be. How has the way we talk about science changed the field?
great question. Brilliant question. We are a story-driven species. And when I was a kid, not in school, but on television, when I was pretending I had an earache so I could stay home from school and not go to school, I used to watch $1 Million Movie in black and white when I was a kid, and they used to have these old Hollywood biopics. And they would be like, Greer Garson as Madame Curie, or Edward G. Robinson as Dr. Ehrlich. And they would be the lives of scientists. Not too different from the stories, different figures, but with that same mixture of personal, social, and political drama and conflict mixed in to the dissemination of these scientific ideas. And I found that very inspiring. How can you ask a kid to become a scientist, to do the really hard work of being a scientist, or an engineer, or a mathematician, without giving them some heroic stories to fire them up? And I feel like when we stopped teaching science like that, and we started teaching science as a kind of really sterile, denuded collection of facts, as opposed to teaching science as a way of seeing absolutely everything, we lost a lot of people along the way. And, I think there's a way into the story that makes people want to know more. I couldn't believe that we were able to do the life of Michael Faraday, a personal hero of mine, and a fundamentalist Christian, by the way, who really had to struggle against all kinds of class warfare and all kinds of things like that. And the complexity of his understanding of field theory is the idea you could put that on Fox in prime time. It's got to be one of the most gratifying things in my life. So, how do we change the field? I think Carl changed the field by being a first-rate scientist with discoveries under his belt, who loved people and wanted to share everything that he was so excited about knowing with absolutely everyone. He thought it was everybody's birthright, and it's true, it is. And I think he changed he changed science because he made it far more interdisciplinary, so that, you could invent something like astrobiology, which would require the knowledge of the planets, the knowledge of stars, stellar physics, as well as biology, at a time when science had become so specialized and the disciplines were so divorced from each other. So I think he really changed things.
All right, we are running out of time, but I really definitely want to get one more question before we totally wrap up. This is from Georgia. First of all, thank you for bringing us Cosmos. And thank you for making Dr. Tyson a household figure. We love him here in New York City. Shout out New York. With only a few episodes, to the conclusion of the series, what's next, and how do you envision continuing the message of Cosmos, as well as to continue to encourage scientific reasoning in our society today?
Well, I think there are a lot of ways to do that. And I have some ideas. They're in the very early stages, but I have some additional ideas that I want to pursue. I really appreciate the question. I think it's up to all of us who, do any kind of media to be imagining ways to communicate that it matters what's true. Not that science can get you an absolute truth, but at least these little tiny successive approximations of reality, they're so precious. They're the most precious thing that we have. And, I think that it's up to all of us to foster those values. Your kid asks you a question, you don't know the answer, admit it and search for that answer with that daughter or that son.
Well, so for anybody who has missed every episode they want to see, there's June 1st, there's a Blu-ray coming out. Is that the correct date?
I think it's actually, no, I missed.
June 10th.
June 10th. June 10th.
10th.
Yes.
Father's Day present.
I'm so excited.
Come on, Dad. Let's be
for
smart
dads
together.
And for grads, really.
And for grads.
Please. By the way, something about the Blu-ray. Do you have 1 sec, Meredith?
Of course. Let's go.
The thing about the Blu-ray and the DVD that I'm so proud of is that there's 2 hours of additional material on it. There's a navigational system for the cosmic calendar so you can wander through it. And there is a special surprise that you get if you go through all 13 episodes and through all the stuff that's there. So I think I'm really proud of it. I think Fox and Bag Street and National Geographic have done a brilliant job with us with Cosmos Studios of creating this. And I really hope everybody will want one.
Oh, I hope so too. It would make the world a better place if everybody watches it. And then, the next episode airs June 1st. Is that correct?
The next episode is not this Sunday, but it's a week from this coming Sunday. And there are 2 more episodes to go.
The season finale that you directed.
The following week is going to be, I think, June 9th.
Okay. And I know that is going to be topical and timely and important for citizens of Earth.
Thank you.
So if you're a citizen of Earth, you should watch the episode directed by the lovely Ann. And we will be having some sort of Smart Girl Slumber Party, so we'll be cheering you on.
Well, that is the nicest thought. Meredith, I loved talking with you. This was my first hangout of my life, and you made it just a fantastic experience. I'm really glad I came.
I am too. I'm so happy that we got to talk about all of this and to talk about you and celebrate you and all that you do. There's nothing better than being the heart and soul of something, and it definitely comes through, and I'm a huge fan of yours. So thank you for giving us your time.
I'm one of yours too, and I really look forward to seeing you again. Thanks, everybody. It was so much fun.
Thanks, everybody.